What's up, Headless Horde? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down episode 6 of Skeleton Crew. This one is titled, Zero Friends Again. Now, the one thing that really stood out in this episode is that it really focuses on the dynamics between the young protagonists and its heartfelt lessons, reminiscent of classic Star Wars themes. Now, do I wish this episode was longer? Yes. I wish they would have combined the last 2 episodes together and they could have built more on the actual story. There really isn't any movement toward the main plot of the show. Obviously, they get back to the ship, and they're going to be heading back to Aden because KB in this episode says that she knows the coordinates. Now, after Jod's betrayal, the core group of Fern, KB, Wim, and Neil, they do their best Goonies act. So we see them at the end of the last episode, switching the trap door, and they kind of slide down these huge tunnels just like we see in the Goonies. Now, luckily, no one slides out of the top pipe and nobody goes down the pipe with the grate still up. They end up finding themselves in a big pile of trash where Wim befriends some of these little trash crabs. So now that they are well below where the ship is, the group needs to figure out how they're going to get back up to the ship. Wim wants to follow the crabs because the crabs are locals and he thinks that they can help them. Now, in a great little Easter egg, we have Fern coming over saying, "We're not going to follow them. They're literally talking to us." Then Wim says, and that means they are intelligent. So the Easter egg goes all the way back to the Phantom Menace when Jar Jar Binks is talking with Qui-Gon and he mentions that he is intelligent because he can speak. And then, of course, we get one of Qui-Gon's most famous lines, "The ability to speak doesn't make one intelligent." So I thought that was a really, really nice callback. So as the kids are kind of arguing like kids do, Fern tries to take charge. Her bossy attitude starts causing problems because KB, whose body we find out is partly made of mechanical parts, speaks up and tells Fern that she has been struggling to keep up with the group. KB's mechanical augs are breaking down, and she feels like Fern doesn't understand how hard things have been for her. Now, with Wim wanting to follow the trash crabs, Fern decides that the best course of action would be to climb up the mountain, and at the top of it is where the ship is. So KB decides that she's going to go with Wim, and Neil decides that he will attempt the mountain with Fern. This then gives KB a chance to open up to Wim as they continue following the trash crabs. She explains that after her accident, she felt different and afraid that Fern wouldn't want to be her friend if she admitted that she needs help. Wim listens and promises that he and Neil will always be there for her and they will be her friend. As they continue, we see KB all of a sudden just stop and sit. Wim then runs over to her to see what the problem is, and we find out KB is unable to move. Wim then follows her instructions to help fix her mechanical parts using different scrap droid pieces in the surrounding area. By working together, he saves her, and she thanks him by calling him a Jedi, showing how much she appreciates his kindness and help. This causes Wim to have a huge smile on his face. Meanwhile, Jod's story takes a darker turn. After ditching the group, he's captured by Brutus. Now, he's coming out of the vault that we saw in episode 5, and he ends up trying to have SM-33 attack, and they basically just blast them. So Brutus and the pirates take Jod and SM-33 to their ship, and this is where a trial is now held for Jod. Jod is sentenced to death and will be thrown out of an airlock. But he invokes one of the pirate laws and he's able to talk his way out by convincing the pirates he knows where Aden is and explains that the treasure there is the minting process of the Old Republic credits. They agree to go and see, but if Jod is lying, that he will be terminated. Back over to Fern and Neil. As they're climbing up the mountain, Neil is having a bunch of difficulty, and Fern realizes that she needs to start becoming a better leader and actually listening to her friends. So she does help Neil start climbing up, and what ends up happening is the ship starts coming down, and it's going to be emptied out into this trash area. Now the ship is being carried down this cliff by these 4 platforms that basically are just taking it down slowly, and Neil and Fern end up jumping onto one of these platforms, and she figures out that she can actually steer it. Back over to KB and Wim, we see that they're continuing to follow these crabs, and they run into Mama Crab, and this thing is massive. Now it doesn't look great in my opinion. I think the CGI is a little wonky. The crab doesn't really do much. You see like some of his claws kind of moving, but really the Mama Crab just kind of stands there. So I don't know, maybe they spent this extra money on Andor, who knows. As they start to kind of run away from all these crabs, we then see Fern and Neil come rescue them, and they get into the ship. Now, at the end of the episode, this is pretty cool the way this was set up, is that we see this huge trash compactor almost just kind of like crushing all the trash. It ends up grabbing the back end of the ship with a couple of its huge teeth, and basically it is going to be destroyed. Now, if you flash back to episode 2, SM-33 had told the group never to push that one button, and what do you think the kids are going to do? So they push the button because they start wanting to destroy the ship because they didn't know how else to get out of there. And then what ends up happening is the outer area of the ship, I guess, detonates and starts kind of blowing up, and a brand new ship is born. So it's almost like the ship had a ship inside. And this ship was actually pretty cool and sleek looking. It reminded me of an X-Wing a little bit. And this thing just kind of takes off, and they're headed back. Like I said earlier, KB now knows the coordinates of Aden, and that's where the pirates are going. So I'm sure in episode 7, this is where we're going to end up meeting. Now, one other big revelation I think in this episode for the kids is that when Jada was being taken to the ship as they were taking off, there were some X-Wing fighters that came in, and they started blasting the pirates. So remember, the kids have no idea what's been going on. And I don't think they ever truly knew that the X-Wings were good or bad. So in this episode, they do find out that these X-Wing fighters are good. And I think that'll probably come into play at some point, maybe in the finale. All right, now heading into episode number 7. Now, Jude Law came out and did say that this is a big episode for him and his character, because I think we will get a lot more backstory. So as both ships are traveling to Aden, I think we're going to get maybe flashbacks or at least a much more deeper look at his character and really figure out who he is. Now, I don't know if we're going to find out who the director is or whoever this person is that is running things over there on Aden. Possibly, maybe they'll reveal this person as the cliffhanger going into the finale. What I found very interesting, though, is that we got absolutely nothing more with the whole Wendo trying to get the passcode to send the kids a message. And now that they already know the coordinates, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that. I just feel like there's really nothing for them to give these adults to do on Aden, and I guess we'll find out how it plays out. All right, guys, well, now it's your turn. Let me know what you thought of episode 6 down in the comments. I'll be back this weekend with another theory video, all involving KB. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to keep those heads on, and I'll see you guys in the next video.